Sports Radio.
All right, everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my correspondents,
Chris Wyatt.
And it's the one and only Miss Terry Michelle.
All right, so we start this week off on a sadder note. We have, unfortunately, we've lost one of our correspondents to the real world. So Chris Marshall is no longer with us. Shouts out to Chris Marshall for bringing amazing energy and amazing information to the show.
Shouts out, Chris. We miss
you.
you.
We're
Definitely going to miss you, Chris.
We're going to miss you. So it's the three of us riding solo, which is great. As you can see, Miss Terry Michelle is back. Yay!
Yay!
You know, really a lot has
Welcome
happened
back.
since I've gone. I had a whole birthday pass. I've been in the hospital 3 times. Yes, I had a whole birthday.
It was 3 or 2?
I didn't
I
know
was in
you
the hospital 3
aged.
times.
I thought you just stayed the same.
Well, you know.
I didn't even know you could have birthdays.
My
I just
black
thought you were going
doesn't
to just stay
crack.
like,
Wait,
whatever,
so how old are you
whatever.
now, 23?
I am 23. It's my Jordan year. Yes, I
Yay.
am now. Yeah, come on, Rick. You know what? Ricardo is just not. We're just going to pass on him.
I don't remember 23. I don't even remember 23. Yeah.
I'm getting nervous, though, because that means I'm getting close to 25. So, that means.
Oh, my goodness.
What happens at 25?
I'm just saying, that
Wow.
means I'm getting old. Like,
Did she
I'm
really
getting-
just say
You
that?
know what? Babies are getting old. Come on now. I mean, that's a natural phenomenon. I mean,
yeah, but okay, Chris, whatever.
I mean-
Fine. Fine.
I'm getting old. I'm like almost over the hill.
Okay, so I just want to point this out. This is how funny Terry's generation is. So the only reason I knew she was in the hospital because somebody put their hospital band on IG.
Okay, you know, because a lot of people, when they don't hear from me, they like, okay, so what's going on? What's wrong? And I just want everybody to know, like, you know, I was sick. I was down bad a little bit, but I'm okay. That's all.
So she put her hospital band on her IG, and that's how. Well, actually, no. Your mom put up a post, and I was like, okay, well, maybe that's just a one-time thing. And then
She puts everything on Facebook. You talking about generation and all this. She's worse than me. She puts everything on there. If anybody wanted to know what I was doing and at that time, dates, everything, please go on my mom's Facebook and you will find it. Like,
I'm about to
seriously.
send your mom. While we joking, I'm about to send your mom a friend request because she put it up first, and I was like, okay, maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's just in and out. And then when you put it up, that's when I was okay, something seriously is wrong.
And because of everything that we're kind of talking about today, I really feel like maybe we should bring awareness to the situation because a lot of people really could have, I don't want to call it a disease.
Just about your situation or just in
Yeah,
general?
just-
I mean, if you want to share, knock yourself out.
I mean, okay, well, for all my female listeners, I have endometriosis, which is essentially basically your tissue in your uterus. The tissue is in your uterus supposed to be like lined up inside the uterus, but mine is on the outside. So if anything happens, I eat something wrong or like anything, like if I drink too much alcohol or something, like anything can just make it flare up and I could just get sick. And the thing about it is most people experience it during their menstrual cycle. And a lot of women just think, well, I have like bad cramps or something, and that's not the case. And it could really be, you know, endometriosis. I've been seeing a whole bunch of ads on TV lately and everything, and I was like, wow, now everybody's talking about it. But at first, like a few years back, nobody wasn't even talking about it. So, ladies, if you're feeling like you're having like very bad menstrual cramps, I advise you to go to your doctor and just ask them to check you. You know, it doesn't hurt to find out if that's what's going on.
So how did they discover? I mean, is it a birth thing or does it?
Well, it's actually common. It's very, very common, and I don't think it's a birth thing. Only way I found out was I had surgery. I had my gallbladder surgery, and the surgeon, he found it, but he couldn't remove it because he doesn't specialize in that. You have to see an OBGYN for it. So, yeah, it was one of those things. And you know how you hear something? Because my first time ever hearing about it was, I want to say one of the twins, Tia or Tamara Mari, one of them have it. And, yeah, and the thing about it is it messes your fertility up, everything. Like, I guess it causes infertility, like different things like that. So when I first heard about it, I was like, I know I have this. I know I have this. I kept trying to ask the doctors that test me for it, but you have to be asleep in order for them to test you for it. So a lot of doctors don't want to do it because, you know, it's a process. And yeah, when I first heard about it, I was like, I know I have this. And when I actually had my surgery, the doctor told me and kind of confirmed it. So yeah, and I've been knowing this for about 2.5 years now. So just imagine how long I've actually had it. So it's like, if something's not right with your body, ladies, and you feel it, please, please, please go get it checked out. Like, please.
Is it a chronic, something that's like lifetime?
Well, you can live with it if that's what you're asking. Like, you can live with it.
I mean, where it will make you ill, the illness part of it.
The illness part is just come in. Like, you're just going to be constantly always sick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's either it can be an every month thing or every week thing. It just depends on how bad you have it. You know? Like, for me, I can't eat any fast food. Like, if I eat some fast food burger, oh my God.
You can't have a quarter pounder with cheese?
No.
Oh, I could live.
Soon
Hey, guess what? She can't go to the International House of Burgers now.
Exactly.
You just really can't now.
I can't have any
now,
burgers.
maybe the little
there.
pancakes that they used to have, but maybe, I don't know. You know, with this new thing coming out.
I'm saying, but it's really, really painful, you guys. Like, and a lot of times people just think I'm really dramatic.
We be praying for you.
A lot of people think I'm dramatic, but they don't understand.
Well, you are dramatic, but in this regard.
Okay, maybe I am. Just a little bit.
In this, don't feel bad because I'm
It's
dramatic.
never been dramatic. Never, ever.
You're not dramatic?
You.
Oh, I can say, hold on.
Shots
are being
That
fired.
might be fake news. That just might be fake news.
The sarcasm is really thick in here today. The sarcasm is really thick today. All right, so in any event, we're happy to have Terry back. We all kept saying it because we didn't realize, and it's still new because this is only I think our 4th week, so we're still learning. But just in that instance from you being gone, everybody was like, okay, so we see what the role Terry plays because we really miss it today. So we kept saying, it was like, oh my God, we miss Terry. We miss Terry.
I was missed. I missed y'all too.
Oh my God, we miss Terry. We miss Terry.
I was all
Absolutely.
in the bed just looking at you guys on live and stuff. I was like, oh my God, I wish I was there. This is killing me.
I saw when you wrote on the Facebook Live. So, I mean, I said
was
something. I was
with
like,
us
she
in
wrote on the
spirit.
Facebook Live. So, you know. All right, so let's segue into the gray matter where we discuss the stuff that happened over the weekend and bring light to things, especially leadership things that will affect us. Quote unquote civilians or everyday people. So yeah. All right. So over the weekend or last week, because we know it's a Monday show. So last week we unfortunately lost Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. So now this has opened the dialogue about suicide again. And it's always funny to me when this stuff is not new, but it's not going on at a high enough level to bring awareness to it. So now that an American icon, Kate Spade, took her own life, now it's on the table. Now it's something serious. Now we're having conversations about it, which I guess at the end of the day is all that it's really about. You just hate because in the meantime, 44,000 people or Americans have died by suicide, but it took 1 or 2 icons to make the conversation really come to the forefront. So, I mean, how do we feel about suicide? How do we feel?
I mean, suicide is really like a really, really big thing. And I don't mean to kind of be the childish one here because it's not a childish matter. But I've been watching this show called 13 Reasons Why on Netflix. I'm pretty sure you guys, have you seen it? Please tell me yes.
I have not, but apparently I'm going to have to watch it. And apparently David does. He's pointing like he's
I've read about it. I haven't watched it, but I've read about it. And go ahead. Go into it.
It's about basically like a girl who committed suicide and she's like leaving. She's basically telling all the people who played a part into why did she commit suicide. And just watching the show, I guess I just been watching it lately, trying to catch up and everything. And it's like, it's like watching the show, then you hear about Kate Spade, and it's like, wow, like people, like depression is really real. Like that's something not to play with, and people are really committing suicide out here. So, anybody who's going through something or anything, I pray for you guys, and I hope everything gets better because, that's a really serious matter.
I think people take it lightly. I think because, people just say, get over it on a lot of things. They always telling people, just get over it, and how can you tell what effect it's having on that person? So what people do is they project onto other people how they feel like look, I had to deal with something and I just pushed through it. And you just got to toughen up. And so when someone's telling you like, and you see these signs that they're really in this dark place, and you're just like, you know what you need? You just need you a party weekend or something like that. And you just think you have all these casual solutions when the next thing you know, something devastating happens. Like, look, Robin Williams had that happen. So this isn't even really new, and I personally knew someone who it was over a relationship. And the next thing you know, and I mean, he was big in our circle, he just couldn't get past this relationship breaking up, and he, hurt himself. But, we didn't take it that serious. We thought this was just the typical, hey, people have breakups. But if you're really in tune to people, and I think people have to take things more seriously now than they used to, because they used to just blow people off saying, oh, come on now, you just get over it. Go dating. Go out dating or something like that. You just get over it.
New hairstyle.
And you can see that this person hasn't been out of their room for like 2 weeks. They're not eating. And they say usually a sign is isolation. So when somebody's getting very isolated, and I heard that with Kate Spade, that she was estranged from her husband for 10 months. That's what I was just reading about. So she had a lot going on behind the scenes, and people in her circle, they knew this. And I'm not saying anybody could stop these things, but the big thing, I believe possibly in the African American community also, is that it's such an invisible looking thing that people might say, oh, you just got to toughen up. We got enough things that we're dealing with in society, and that's not going to be one of them. We're not going to deal with this because it's a mental disease. You can't see it. It's not like being in a wheelchair or you're limping or something like that. You could look just as fine as everybody else, and somebody will just say, come on, pick yourself up and get going and this and that, and don't know, like, the person's kind of crying out over a period of time, because I don't think this happens just on an overnight kind of way. I think people have been seeing things, and as the husband reported, he's been seeing this. I mean, he's the one who's probably dealing with it on a face-to-face daily basis, versus the public was just kind of finding out that this was going on. So I think people need to take things more seriously. When people, just like now, we take threats seriously. When people say, I'm going to do something, the old days, you just blow it off. But now when someone says, hey, I'm going to do this, and you have to take that seriously.
It's crazy that you mentioned that, like, as far as like relationships and stuff, because I had a friend in high school who actually committed suicide, and it was about a relationship. So,
I guess with it being Kate Spade, who, for those who I know, is like an American icon because her handbags and clothing, I think she started in Kmart. And when imagine that, Kmart. Terry, are you familiar with Kmart?
Yes, I am.
Really? There must have been one closing nearby when you were in school.
You guys, I know about Kmart, okay?
I just had to make sure I asked because, I didn't want to, bypass.
And the dinosaurs were behind the store. Yeah.
I'm just saying that I was hidden. Kmart is like a dinosaur, a retail dinosaur. I'm just saying. But I think she started out in Kmart with her own handbags and so on and so forth. And it just kind of grew to this empire. So she's known in the retail community. So that's what really made it a big deal. But then you have that, it brings you to that age-old question, does money really solve all problems? Because clearly money was not an object for her. So it wasn't a matter of, when the average Joe, and for lack of a better term, when the average Joe takes his life, you can say, oh, well, John took his life. And let me say that men die by suicide 3.53 times more often than women. So you see more men offing themselves than women. And white males accounted for 7 out of 10 suicides in 2016. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men in particular. And that's from the suicide statistics. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the USA. So we're not talking about some far-off 25 number. It's 10th in the USA for deaths. Each year, 44,965 Americans die by suicide. Suicide costs the U.S. $69 billion annually. So the question becomes, what is that money being spent on? That's a lot of money. So what is that money being spent on? This is clearly not something that should be taken lightly. But at the same token, how much is too much? Because we can say, oh, it was obvious that, so on and so forth. That's case in point with Kate Spade. even if we were falling along the lines of your thought process, or which may or may not be true, that she was estranged from her husband, she runs a billion-dollar empire. So there's going to be times when he's like, okay, well, that's just Kate because she don't be bothered because, you know, she has so much going on. She needs her space. Now, if that space happens to span 10 months, if it's consistent, well, yeah, maybe you probably should be like, okay, well, you know, babe, you've been in seclusion for 10 months. But if it's been sporadically in those 10 months, she's just kind of having spells, would you really notice it? And it's the same thing with suicide. You know, yeah, in the old days, you can kind of just do it, and people are like, okay, well, Ricky's not eating and he's not going out. Well, now you don't really have to leave your room because it's social media. So you could be doing stuff in your room and recreating your room every week, and people don't even realize it's your room. So technically, you haven't left it, but we don't know that on social media.
Yeah, basically, people can't pick up the signs. So.
Exactly, because they're so cluttered and so clustered with the stuff that goes on in the world and the stuff that's constantly changing. And, you know, even when you start segueing into these shootings, you know, people are like, oh, well, they should have known. Is it really that obvious? Sometimes it is, but is it really as obvious as it used to be at one time, where there wasn't technology, there wasn't social media, and you're kind of having to interact with people? You can run an office from your home now.
Right.
You never have to go into the office at this point.
Now, you bringing up something that they've said that people used to have dinners together, and at those times is where you can analyze each other. If someone's at the table and they're not talking today, and they're this, because it's hard to escape. Now, if you're in a depression, it's going to be hard to sit at that dinner table with the family every day, and without somebody saying, hold up now, she can't even get through a meal, or she won't even come out of the room to eat dinner. So with this world now that everybody doing all these things, we're doing all these things in the cyber world, and we're so busy. Everybody's so busy. There's no dinners anymore. There's no children are eating when they come in and eating in the room, and the parents are working two places. They're staying working late, or they're on their laptop when they're in their own office. And there's so much disconnect that you can't really figure this out way in advance, because like Ricardo was saying, you're doing so many things in isolation because of the social media that we can do. We can sit in our room.
But I don't think you should blame, you know what I'm saying? Like, or not necessarily even blame, but, you know, just say, okay, because it's social media or it's other things going on. Like, when you have somebody that you love or care about, especially like when it's your family, like certain things you just pick up on. And this could be an opinion. So, well, of course it is an opinion. It's my opinion. But like he was saying, as far as so many guys, you know, committing suicide, what do you guys think about this? I'm thinking maybe more so because guys aren't really like emotional creatures. Like, people don't like to say what's wrong with them, or, you know, I'm like, some people like to just hold all that kind of stuff in. So it gets me wondering, like, okay, is that why, you know what I'm saying, the percentage for the male is so high? Because,
I think it's perceived if the males are putting too much out there that they're weak, versus they're trying to be some kind of image they believe they're supposed to be, of being very stoic.
It's okay to be vulnerable, okay?
And not because when they have, then someone says, "Oh man, a man cried watching a movie," or something. "Oh, he must be a punk," or something like that. Versus, so sometimes I think a lot of their real feelings they're holding on to, and men don't seem to have all the networks that ladies have. They have, you know, they have their girlfriends, they have a mother, an auntie, and this and that, but guys don't usually engage their personal business like that. They're lucky to tell one close person what their real feelings are. Like they're having a hard time. So when they have something they're really dealing with, you know, something like unemployment or a relationship or a child or different family issues or health issues, I think they go into their own little cave. That's why hence the man cave. I'm not saying that's where that happens, but that men just get to themselves, and then they need to talk these things out. They need to find somebody that's going to be a sympathetic ear.
Well, because you guys are now my guys, I have to ask you: are you guys, you know, is anything y'all need to share on air, or everything's okay? What's going on with y'all? You know, I gotta ask.
On that note,
on the couch.
On that note,
free therapy.
I'm done with y'all. On that note, we would love to hear your thoughts on the suicide situation. So 678-688-4269. Again, feel free to call and chime in. 678-688-4269. You know, I think you get into roles in society. By nature, the male's role in society is heavier in essence. It's shifting, but it's still there. Because if it wasn't, women wouldn't still be dealing with glass ceilings. So that ideology of male leadership, male dominance is still there. So, you know, when you have the husband who's trying to provide for the family, or you have the boyfriend who's trying to take care of the girlfriend, or you have the baby daddy, you know, these are all weights that a man by nature carries. So his load is going to always feel heavier than a female's. Is that dynamic changing?
No.
Is that dynamic changing? It is, but by nature and by civilization, that's just the way it is. Now, again, this dynamic is drastically changing. But the funny thing is, considering the changing of the dynamic, and of course, because we're all African American, this is going to clearly be our perspective. But because that dynamic is changing, it's funny because women, when you consider the fact that you have more single mothers now than you ever had, but yet the number of suicide is still more dominant in males, it's a funny thing to me because the shift of burden seems heavier. If I'm a single mother and I have more than one child and I'm working more than one job and I'm trying to balance, and again, I watch both of my sisters do, well, my real sister and my adopted sister, Felicia, I watch both of them do it. And to see the level, and they have 2 kids each, and to see the level of stress I know they're under because they're trying to work and they're trying to take the kids to, with my real sister, Lee, you know, she's taking Tamari to cheerleading practice. She's taking Javon to, I think he plays soccer. You know, she's taking them to that stuff. She's working from like 7 to 5. She's picking them up from after school. She's making sure they're getting this stuff. She's having to pay for all these things. She's still trying to maintain the household. And my sister's 2 shades crazy, but, you know, to see her not buckle under it, and then to have the thought process of a male who may have a family and loses his job and he thinks to jump out a window, it's ironic to me.
And that's exactly why I'm wearing the shirt right now. The future is female, because I'm telling you, like, we're just doing all kinds of incredible things.
We're going extinct, huh?
Say, I'm just saying, did you not just hear him say how his sister's been holding it down? Like,
you know what? I'm gonna be hanging out with Bigfoot real soon. I can tell.
Okay, you know what?
I prefer a Yeti. I want to hang out with a Yeti, but I just want to say I couldn't read your shirt because it is tied, so I thought it was a fashion thing.
It's a fashion thing.
So it's funny that you pointed that out. And where'd you even get that shirt from?
Fashion Nova. I'm a Fashion Nova babe.
Oh, good God.
Can I give a PSA for the if you or someone you know is struggling with depression or has had thoughts of harming themselves or taking their own lives, please get help. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255, and it's open 24/7. So if you feel in a certain way or you know someone feeling that way, please reach out. Please, even if it's a false alarm, just do it.
All right, so let's look at some statistics. Okay. So in 2016, the highest U.S. suicide rate was 15.17 among whites. The second highest, and this actually shocked me, the second highest rate was 13.37 among American Indians and Alaska Natives. Much lower and roughly similar rates were found among Asians and Pacific Islanders, 6.62, and the lowest was actually Black and African Americans at 6.03.
Well, that's good. You know, we're finally low.
But the irony of all of that is when you look at one of the most oppressed groups, which is minorities, African Americans, and considering the fact that one would think that we would take our lives in higher numbers, we're the lowest. So what does that say about white privilege if they're the highest?
You know, that my mama.
It seems like some groups have, because they've had to deal with all the adversity, they have more resilience than someone who's believing that they're entitled. Because entitlement can become a disease. Mm-hmm. That affluenza, where you've grown up with that silver spoon, and then you face one crisis and you lose your mind. When you've grown up, all the different groups, you know, from other countries, also, because this is a country full of immigrants, basically, and so, you know, they've come through adversity. But if you've had that life where you've either had the silver spoon or you have this feeling of entitlement that this is make America great again, in my mind, of me owning this country, me being on top, this is my country, you're a foreigner, you're this. And if you have those kind of mentalities, everything can easily snap you like an oak tree versus being like a bamboo, where these other groups have had to deal with the adversity. They know about some hard times. They know about storms. They know about coming up, going down, and they're able to handle these things and keep their patience and know it's gonna come back up again.
Right.
With somebody who thinks, hey, I gotta have this showy. I'm supposed to be on top of some other groups here. I'm supposed to be able to show my lifestyle. And if that gets cut off, it's all over for me. And I'm looking for a way out, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's take this a step further. So, suicide methods. In 2016, firearms were the most common method of death by suicide, accounting for a little more than half, 51.01% of all suicide deaths. The next most common method was suffocation, including hangings, at 25.89% and poisoning at 14.90%. So that means that more people were shooting themselves in 2016. So I mean, I guess my thing is, how do you buy a gun, take that gun, and
take
shoot
your
yourself?
own life with it.
Like I would have thought, and again, these numbers are staggering. This is 2016, which is probably gonna be the most accurate because we're only in 2018. So this is probably the most accurate. And the thought of that was over half. I don't. So all right, let's segue to in the TV show 13 Reasons. How did she commit suicide?
She cut herself.
Like the bathtub.
In the bathtub, she cut herself. And actually, I didn't even want to see that scene, so it was a bit much. But yeah, like depression is really real. It's kind of like even now I'm feeling it. You guys not feeling? I'm feeling so sad, and like nobody else is not feeling it.
You're an empath.
You're
an empath, so you feel what's happening right now. You're an empath. And that's happening.
I'm lost for words. It's like, wow, like this stuff is really going on in America.
It's true. It's a real.
That's for you, Terry. That's for you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, David.
Problem in society.
All right. So again, I mean, this is clearly not something that just happened overnight. But again, I guess the offset for this is how do in this new world that we live in, because this is technically a new world. In the new world that we live in, how do we validate when somebody is actually suicidal? Because we can't do it the way we used to. Because like you said, we're not having those sit-down meals. We're not having as much telephone conversations. We're not communicating face-to-face anymore. So even in the office setting, like, how would we know? Okay, all right, let's go back to the postal worker debacle. I think everybody kind of knows that because people make jokes about it. I'm going to go postal, where the guy was.
I don't know what does that mean? Somebody said they're going to go postal?
It never fails.
I'm sorry.
She's back.
It never fails.
That's
all right,
it.
so
I haven't heard that,
That's
guys.
the clue.
I haven't heard that.
And we'll say about, I would say about 15, 20 years ago, postal, before it became, I don't want to say normal, but before it became less frequent, a postal worker decided he was kind of sick of it. So he went, quote unquote, postal and shot up the post office where he worked at. That was before it became almost normal now. So
what's normal? Shooting up the post office?
Well, just shootings, random shootings have become a lot more frequent. And that day,
it became like a coined phrase, a catchphrase for saying, like, if you're going to get so fed up that you could go, now you could say it even if you're going to do it somewhere else. You could say, I'm going to my job and I'm going to go so-called postal, because there was so many of those post office shootings and it kept happening, one after another. And that's when the phrase got coined.
I mean, I just think that people are like, I feel like, like people have voices, like demons inside of them for real. Like stuff like that is really real. And I don't want to kind of like, get too deep into that. But it's like, I feel like I won't say that, but that's just my opinion, that anybody who's dealing with something, I feel like at some point they're showing it. Regardless if we're missing the signs or what, but they're showing that something is wrong, whether they're making little jokes like, hey, I'm going to go postal or anything. Like even in the show, just to go back to that, like in the show, like the girls like writing notes, like they had like a classroom or something and everything could be anonymous. So like they was submitting stuff in the classroom and the girl like wrote a note saying how she wanted to kill herself, but nobody took action on it. So it's like, just when you see those signs, really, really take action on it, because it's really, really real. And just speaking on things like that, it kind of make me change my viewpoint on things that I'm saying, because I was just recently just talking about, I'm depressed, or whatever, and it just make me like, okay, you know, you're over here saying you're depressed, and it's probably someone else who's dealing with things 10 times worse. Like, so you have to be careful of the words that you use, because I wouldn't want to offend nobody from saying, hey, I'm depressed and I'm only sad because, you know, over
But
something
like you're
small.
saying, words lead to action. So if somebody's continually saying something, you know, that's why we have to really watch what we say, watch, you know, what we're looking at and
Be
listening,
cautious.
because we can kind of draw that.
All right, so since you don't know, all right, so going postal,
Okay.
and this is almost 30 years ago. On August 20th, 1986, postman Patrick Sherrill walked into his workplace, shot and killed 14 co-workers and injured 6 more before shooting himself in the head. A couple of years later, on October 10th, 1991, a former U.S. postal worker, Joseph Harris, killed 2 employees at a post office in Ridgewood, New Jersey. So when it happened in 1986, nobody had ever seen anything like it. So it was a major thing. Like I said, now it happens so more frequently that we're almost becoming numb to it, which is a scary thought that can become the norm. But back then, it was a big deal, and it happened in the post office, which back then, and actually even now, when you think of the post office, you think of stability. Like, you get your mail every day, you know, the holidays, you're not getting it. It's like clockwork. Mm-hmm. So when that happened in that environment, people were like, whoa, something happened in the post office? Like, that's not common. So that's where that phrase "going postal" comes from, if you ever hear it. So you learn something new today. So if you ever hear "going postal," you know what it means.
And you guys was talking about something that happened when I was 3 years old.
You just had to bring that up, huh?
Yeah, because you guys always making me feel bad for something that I don't know, but I wasn't even 30 years ago. I wasn't.
Well, I just want to point out that Wyatt was probably 15.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. He keeps my age calendar. You do too. I appreciate it.
Because you guys won't let me forget it
my
either.
Birth dates according to you two. You'll tell me when it's coming, when it's going. I appreciate it.
Oh, speaking of
Thank
birthdays, you know, I did say my birthday just passed, but you know, it is Gemini season. Can we get into some more positive, happy vibes? I want to be happy, guys. Like, I'm really sad right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to end something, if we're going to be finishing this subject, is that, you know, we have the HIPAA laws and we have all of this where we have to stay out of everybody's business. See, so that's also made it where we're in a new time, like Ricardo said. The old times, people were all in your business. I mean, and sometimes to your own,
They
for
still
your
in
own
your business.
good. But I'm saying
Socially.
just all kind of ways. Your school teacher did this and that. Then I worked in school for 2 years. Now, when I would see a youth, like I would watch and I would see like those cuts or something like that, I'm taking that child to the social worker. Now that's me. Now some other people would just see them walking through school and they might say, that's just one of those kids. But me personally, I got in their business because I saw that. I was watching the kids, and when I would see that, I'm instantly going to the social work and I'm saying, you got to meet with this kid today because I don't know if they're going to go home and do something. Yeah. So we have this society now where we done made all these walls up, you know, protection of this, homeland security, HIPAA, and we got to stay out of everything, and only certain people can get in your business and nobody else can, and you can't talk to my child, I'm the only one, and this and that. So, and if somebody talk to my child, you know, and all this stuff. So it's so much of this trying to protect yourself from lawsuit and this and that we can't hardly engage with each other enough to figure out what's going on, or to try to get you some help. Like say, well, I want to recommend that this child. No, you better talk to the parent first, and that might have been the night that you're trying to get some help for them. And
but we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
It's the removal of safeguards. So let's look at it at a paradigm or a structure. So in the high schools, you had there were all these lines. So you came from your home life, you went to school. Your teacher was constantly interacting with you. Your teachers were constantly interacting with you throughout the day. Over the course of that day, how many people did you pass? You passed the cafeteria worker because you had to eat. Mm-hmm. You passed the librarian because in our day you had to go to the library at some point, so you passed the librarian. You always had to have a meeting with your guidance counselor at some point. Mm-hmm. You interacted with the principal or the assistant principal at some point. In most schools, you had in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, which at some point you did something. So you interacted with those two people. For the extracurriculars, you had your PE teacher, you had your music teacher,
hall
monitors. That's 10 safeguards right there in our day you had to pass through over the course of one day. Mm-hmm. You passed through all these people. Now look at it. You are interacting with teachers, and they may not even be the same teachers. Case in point, I worked at South Atlanta High, and that was in 2010. South Atlanta High had 3 floors. Every floor had its own principal because it was its own separate school. So one floor was a school of medicine, one floor was law, one floor was CAD. They all had their own principal. So they were literally like 3 separate schools in one building. So you're not even dealing with the same principal. You're not dealing with the same teachers. You're not dealing with the same guidance counselor. So you've already lost. We counted almost 10 in the course of one day in the old days. We already eliminated almost 7 in just one day of running. So that's 7 safeguards that have already been removed. Now send you home. Or let's let you leave from home. You may not even live in a house that has a father and a mother. So it may just be a mother. You may, in this day and age, you may not even be close to your aunts and your uncles. You may be estranged from your grandparents. The dynamic is so different. So again, the question becomes, how do we either restore these safeguards that we removed because we felt like people had so many civil liberties that we were violating, kids who don't even know, how do we restore these safeguards, or how do we put in place a new layout that where we can catch, these symptoms? Because like you said, there are symptoms. They just look differently because the world looks different. Right. So how do we remedy that? Because, government is going to say, or city's going to say, well, we alleviated guidance counselors because we had to cut the bottom line so that we could run the school. Okay, well, that's cute. But now, how do we substitute what we lost?
I think one of them is changing the mindset. Like when they did the changing of what the real, what is beautiful for women. Now they've been doing such a good job of changing the mindset, because it used to be that I believe it's Kate Moss, like a wafer body, like you had to be like 90 pounds soaking wet, and that was the and everybody was aiming, no matter if they couldn't get even their bone structure to be that, and they were aiming at that, and then they worked real hard, to start changing that mindset of what is beautiful, because if you're after something you can't get. And then the same thing like with success. What is your success? Now, if you think success is, I got to be sitting up on, a half acre of land with almost, a 9-room place and two Range Rovers and this and that, and then I don't get it, then I'm a failure, and then I'm ready to do some damage to myself because I done made these unrealistic expectations on my own life. And I think that a lot, because this is a mental thing, our mind it's the place where the battlefield is at. Because if I could be just as happy, you go to some poorer countries and they're just as happy doing what they're doing. You go to Brazil, they have that carnival every year. They have like 1,000% inflation. They're not living the greatest life according to the world, but when they come to the party, they're partying even in their own poverty, their own adversity, because they've learned to say, you know what? Hey, I got my family. I got something to eat tonight. I'm good. So I think we had to change the mindset, because a lot of people feeling all these unreasonable, unrealistic expectations. Oh, right now I'm 30 and I should almost be ready to be a retired person. I should have so much wealth now because I promised myself by 35 I'm retiring. And then if they don't get there, they tell themselves they're a failure, or they done promised all these people all these things. So I think the battlefield is in mind.
Well, I definitely think that if just from just my generation, just looking at things, different movements and stuff, like I feel like the world is really being sensitive to a lot of things that nobody cared about at one point in time. Like how we have like Black Lives Matter movements and Me Too movements, like with the women's rights. True. Like it's so many different, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like if a group of people probably just came together and let people know that, as far as with suicide and depression or anything like that stuff like that, not necessarily that it's okay. Not saying that suicide is okay, but you're saying that it's okay to it's okay to know that people go through stuff, and you get sad and you get depressed and or whatever. But if a movement were to come about and people was just more accepting of it, then I do think it would change. It would change how people viewing on it, because that's what's been going on lately. Like the world is really sensitive to a lot of things that people once really didn't care about. So.
All right, so on that note, we're going to take our first break. So everybody stick around. The Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
I could overdose. You said stop playing it safe, girl, I wanna see you lose control. Just like nicotine, heroin, morphine. Suddenly I'm a fiend, and you're all I need, all I need. Yeah, all I need is you, babe. And I'm a sucker for the way that you move, babe. And I could try to run, but it would be useless. You're to blame. Just by hitting you, I know I'll never be the same. It's you, babe. And I'm a sucker for the way that you move, babe. And I could try to run, but it would be useless. You're to blame. Just by hitting you, I know I'll never, ever, ever be the same. I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. You're in my blood, you're in my vein, you're in my head. You're in my blood, you're in my vein, you're in my head. I'm saying you, babe, and I'm a sucker for the way that you move, babe. And I could try to run, but it would be useless. You're to blame, Just by hitting you, I know I'll never be the same. It's you, babe, and I'm a sucker for the way that you move, babe. And I could try to run, but it would be useless. You're to blame. Just by hitting you, I know I'll never, ever, ever be the same.
Yeah. No, I just had a little bit too much of Hennessy. Just gonna tell you how I feel. Look. How you look so precious when you smile. Yeah. Hit it from the back and drive you wild. Yeah, yeah. Girl, I lose myself up in those eyes. I just had to let you know you're mine. Hands on your body, I don't wanna waste no time. Feels like forever, even if forever's tonight. Just lay with me, waste this night away with me. You're mine. I can look away, I just gotta say I'm so happy that you are alive. Yeah. Swear to God I'm down. If you down, all you gotta say is right. Yeah. Girl, anything I could do just to make you feel alright. Oh, I just had to let you know you're fine. Running circles around my mind. Even when it's rainy, all you ever do is shine. You on fire, you a star just like Mariah. Man, this feel incredible, I'll turn you to a bride. You're mine. Hands on your body, I don't wanna waste no time. Feels like forever, even if forever's tonight. Just lay with me, waste this night away with me.
Life comes at us fast. One thing that gives us comfort is knowing that someone is there when you need them. Well, at Pleasant Hills Insurance, that's our promise to our clients. Call 770-910-7460 today or visit our website at pleasanthillsinsurance.com for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Many of the large agencies have turned their back on the retired workforce. At Pleasant Hills Insurance, if others can't qualify you, very often we can. Pleasant Hills Insurance proudly provides options for preconditions. So call 770-910-7460 or visit pleasanthillsinsurance.com today for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Pleasant Hills Insurance. We're here when you need us.
Ooh, don't we look good together? There's a reason why they watch all night long. Yeah, I know we'll turn heads forever. So tonight I'm gonna show you all. That's right. We out here dripping in finesse. It don't make no sense. Out here dripping in finesse. You know it, you know. We out here dripping in finesse. It don't make no sense. Out here dripping in finesse. You know it, you know it. Fellas, grab your ladies if your lady fine. Tell her she the one for life. Ladies, grab your fellas and let's do this right. If you own like me and mine.
Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Don't it feel so good to be us? Hey, yeah, we got it going on, got it going on.
Girl, we got it going on.
Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Don't it feel so good to be us? Hey, yeah, we got it going on, got it going on.
We out here dripping in finesse. It don't make no sense. Out here dripping in finesse. You know it, you know. Dripping in finesse with my baby. Oh, dripping in finesse. You know it, girl, you know we got it going
Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Don't it feel so good to be us? Hey, yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Yeah, we got it going on, got it going on. Don't it feel so good to be us? Hey, yeah, we got it going on, got it going on.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, simplifying your leadership. All right, everybody, we are back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with my correspondents.
It's your girl, Miss Terry Michelle.
Chris Wyatt.
All right, so when we left, we were talking about suicide, which again was sparked by the death of Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. But we're gonna leave that because Terry was getting depressed, and we don't want her to get depressed. And actually, we were all starting to get a little depressed because it's a topic that needs to be talked about, but at the same token, how much is too much. So we belabored the point. So again, we put the number out there. If you know somebody who is depressed or considering suicide, we have that number that we put out there in the first segment. So at this time, our very first guest on the Leadership Blend has walked into the studio. So we are so happy to have Miss Terry Williams.
Hey. Tammy Williams in the house.
Guys, it's exciting to be here.
All right, so she's an amazing lady. I am not even going to try to introduce her. So before we go to Wait What, because she may chime in while we're doing that, so I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here with you guys. I feel honored.
Oh, we're the ones. I mean, once you run down your bio, you're like, oh my God, how'd y'all get her?
We got her in our
We're
presence,
honored.
honey. I've been waiting on this all
here.
day.
She's here.
Oh, gosh, you're so kind. I'm Tammy Williams. I work in film production, and we have a company called Tammydale Films, where I just finished my first directorial debut.
Yes,
So we're
yes.
excited about that.
Yay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And it's out in the market and everything. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But I've worked with everybody from the Stellar Awards to the Trumpet Awards to Entertainment Tonight, Extra, and some other great
American Idol
companies.
too, right? Because I saw
did some
American
work
Idol.
there, and so just a lot of great things and fun things. And we've done videos for Sesame Street and some other great things. And so,
Sesame Street.
don't we
We
all
love Sesame Street.
That's Americana.
Okay, we
that's
love
Americana.
Sesame
Yeah. And then we have a film education arm that we train people for this industry because Georgia is now ranked as #1 as far as production coming to
#1.
the state over LA, over New York, which has been the staples for production for years.
Over LA too?
Over LA. We're currently
Wow.
in the #1 position as far as productions coming here and being
All right,
produced as
then.
TV series and films. And so with that happening, for all those people who always wanted to work in the industry, it's like, let's help get them trained. Let's get on sets. Let's work. And so we kind of picked up a part of that education arm and have students all over the place. So we can talk about that some more too. So that's
All right.
a little bit.
Nice.
All right, so at this moment, we're going to segue to Wait What with Mr. Chris Wyatt. Take it away.
Oh, man. These things tick
He's
me
so
off.
dramatic.
They do
He's so
because
dramatic.
some of these things. That's why we have the Wait What segment, because
I'm about to say
some of
wait
these
what
things
now.
just make you say, "I can't believe it is going on," or "I didn't see it that way." We have doctors. This is the title of a news report. Doctors lose licenses but stay employed. 200 remain on Medicare rolls despite being disciplined. So here we have, it states that at least 216 doctors remained on Medicare rolls in 2015 despite surrendering a license, having one revoked or being excluded from state-paid healthcare rolls in the previous 5 years. Now, this is a study by the Milwaukee Journal's Centennial, and they did an investigation, and these doctors were paid $25.8 million by taxpayers in 2015 alone. Now, they give this case here of among them, they say there's a Glenn Marin, a family practice doctor from New York City. According to New York Department of Health disciplinary records, Marin didn't contest charges that he was sexually inappropriate with the female patient. And in California, as a result, he surrendered his license in 2014 rather than go through a full disciplinary hearing. He was allowed to keep practicing in New York, but only if he had a chaperone present when he met with the female patient. Since 2007, Marin settled at least 3 separate malpractice cases, including one for failing to diagnose the cancer that eventually killed the patient. Despite that, taxpayers helped foot the bill for him to practice medicine. In 2015, a year after he surrendered his California license, he was paid more than $280,000 through Medicare. So he lost his license and made $280,000 the next year off of Medicare. So we're talking about practicing with suspended licenses. There's a quote here from Leslie Page, Citizens Against Government Waste. It says, seniors should not be sitting ducks for predators simply because they're on Medicare. And on their website, on the website of Medicare, it states that they put patients first. So if this is what they're doing as far as putting patients first, Todd Eccles, an official with the Health and Human Services, Department of Health and Human Services, he says they review such cases and that they're having a big problem with staffing. In California, which alone has more than 150 physicians, there's only one investigator. So you have one investigator for 150,000 physicians in California. So the way how can you lose your license and you're still able to do Medicare patients? It really is putting our seniors at risk, and it's just unbelievable because they said that only a few of the cases have been reviewed, and so there's so many doctors still out there practicing, even though they're supposed to be coming before like a board, but they don't have enough staffing to even take them there. So they're just out there practicing, and then some of them, even with being suspended, are still allowed to do Medicare patients as if the people are guinea pigs.
And you said they had to have like a supervisor or somebody with them,
This
right?
one case, this one doctor, he had a sexual molestation, and he didn't even fight it. But so,
Which makes him guilty.
Which
In
makes
essence,
him guilty.
'cause
So
he
he
didn't
was
fight
supposed to have his license revoked, but he's still allowed to practice as long as he has a chaperone. Now that is
Wow.
unbelievable.
That's not even a wait, but that's a wow.
Well, you run into 2 problems. So one of the problems is you don't have enough physicians in general. That's your first problem.
Right.
So now your second problem is you don't have enough staff to take the doctors who are bad before a disciplinary board because you don't have enough people to make a disciplinary board. So you got 2 problems. So the question becomes, and let's make this plain. So we're not saying that they've never gone to medical school.
Mm-hmm.
We're just saying their actions have put them before a board, whatever board, that has decided they're not fit to practice. But they still are. They're not licensed, but they still went to medical school. So we're not saying, okay, well, this is some Joe Blow off the road who was working on elderly people. We're not saying that. We're just saying they're not the creme de la creme of doctors because they've gone through disciplinary actions or they've had interactions with the example he was using of sexual natures. So these people, their license have been taken, but because we need them and they did go to medical school, we're letting them work on the elderly.
But they're still getting like paid and everything. Like
Yes,
that's
this
not.
doctor $280,000 after he had his license
Yeah,
revoked
like no,
for the year he made from Medicare.
But again,
that doesn't make it acceptable.
But they still went to medical school, so we're not saying these are average Joes who just walking off
Everyone
the street
out there,
cutting
this
folk
is
open.
where your tax dollars are going.
But again, you have a shortage of doctors. So what do? Because you need, especially when you come to the elderly, you're talking about more medication, more doctor visits, all that good stuff. Well, you got the elderly over here who are typically on Medicaid, which it all comes down to money. Medicaid, you're not going to get the best doctors that want to deal with Medicaid anyway, especially when you start getting in areas that where the income is higher, so they can go have they can be a plastic surgeon making billions. And now you're saying, well, yeah, but we need you to work on the elderly, and all they have is Medicaid. So you're talking about billions of dollars versus thousands of dollars. So what do? Like, what is the solution?
I mean, this is like someone losing their pilot's license and then flying you on a plane. I mean, it shouldn't happen. That out in the
But
civilian world,
in that same scenario,
Yes.
he still went to pilot school, so he
Yeah.
still can technically fly a plane. He just doesn't have man's
I wouldn't wanna
approval
be on
to
that
fly
plane.
the plane. But he still can fly a plane.
that's true.
I mean, we're just saying that they took your license for whatever reason, whether it be disciplinary actions or whether it be, because again, with the example you use, it wasn't a medical thing that he did that was bad. He was a sexual predator. So it wasn't a medical thing that got his license taken.
But certain people should still be held to certain standards. Just as like if like just period.
But they
Like,
were because they took his license, but they still
But he still
need
gets
him.
to practice and he still gets to get paid. That's not.
And
So are you going to medical school to learn how to deal with the elderly?
And
I
he's
mean-
a sexual predator.
Exactly.
Like
And I mean, the
I
chaperone
agree.
alone
I'm just playing
allows you
devil's
to
advocate.
perform.
I agree, but in the grand scheme of things, and these are the kind of decisions that government and federal government have to be able to make. In the grand scheme of things, can we really afford to lose another doctor, especially when it comes to the elderly?
You're playing devil's advocate.
I really am.
aren't you?
I mean, that's the question. So the short-term remedy was we'll allow him to practice, but he has to practice with, in essence, a chaperone. Short-term fix for a long-term problem.
But I mean, the chaperone has to watch his hands the whole time.
Well, I mean, really, all you have to do is say, well, you can't be alone with your
it's
patients.
unbelievable. Now, they say the same situation happens with the FDA, that a lot of things can't be checked into because they don't have enough agents to go out and really check these places that do the inspections. So we're really at risk. If you're not prayed up in this world, you are just
Well, that's a given.
You're
I mean,
nothing
that's a
but
given.
you're nothing but sheep every morning.
I mean,
Because
that's a given.
it's look at this, a doctor practicing who had it revoked, and then you, like I said, also is that it's like the FDA. Also, they're not checking out all these facilities. We're out here eating food, and you don't know if this place is supposed to be condemned.
But again, y'all know how I am about how problems lead to other problems. So then you start getting into other problems. So if people are not going to school to be medical doctors, what are they going to school for? Medical doctors, lawyers. If everybody wants to run, and this is just a segue, if we're creating more...
Get them, Terry.
This-
Get them.
Okay. And we start getting into generations, because if you think about it, during our time, there was a push. Well, our time, there was a push for people to become doctors, lawyers. There were movements. Chuck D and all those boys were having movements. Hey, we need you guys to be doctors. We need to be lawyers. we need to
Cosby
be
Show.
court. Everybody was segueing that. Now we're seeing this shift where everybody's, oh, I want to be a rapper. I want to be a model. I want to be in movies. That's great. But what happens to all the professional areas that people are not going to, especially people of color? Because I promise you, if we were to do the math on doctors and African-American doctors, that number is going to be significantly lower than for every other class or every other ethnicity. That's a problem.
Now
which
look,
might be true, but I feel like that's only what are you seeing, because I'm seeing still people that want to be doctors and lawyers.
I'm not
and-
saying they don't exist, but I'm saying when you look at the grand scheme of thing and the numbers, and you're talking about thousands of lawyers, we're talking about millions of people, what are we really doing?
I mean, I guess just a little bit.
but are they getting, in this case, are they getting like an elite treatment that you are trained, and this is a part of society? Okay, it's coming out of government money. Just go ahead and you can take care of those patients, because you wouldn't have anybody in an affluent part of the country have that, Dr. Giggles working on them. Okay.
Dr. Giggles. First of all, I don't want anybody working on me named Dr. Giggles. I just want
Well,
to point that out.
So this to me is just unconscionable.
So my question to you is, what's the remedy?
The
Since you
remedy is
posed
that
it.
they face the same things we face in society. Like in this case with this doctor, he's done had some kind of perverted act that goes against his oath, goes against his schooling. And if we were in regular society, if you just do something and say something inappropriate, do something inappropriate in corporate, you're gone. You can't say, oh, well, as long as I'm in the break room with somebody else, then I can go in there, even though I've done certain things. No, it's I just think this is definitely something to give people pause, because it's somebody, we're all moving up to those ages at one point, and we have somebody we know is in that age group.
Yeah.
And being treated by somebody who's done something unethical against all society standards, not just the medical standards, but all society. And now they're getting like a pat on the hand and saying, well, but you do have training, so go ahead, even though you're a pervert.
I just think that
True or not true?
Your wording. I'm
I
not touching that with your
think
wording.
that the patients should have an option in that. Like, if they want the doctor to work on them, like, the elderly, they want them to work on them despite their situation, then I feel like it should be up to the patients. But
Yeah, but they're not gonna really have a choice.
I don't think they
Once
know.
you get to that age, and you don't really have a lot of options. You're gonna take what you have to get. I mean,
right,
at
you
that
don't
point.
have a lot of options, but it still should be a choice. Like, it should still be their choice. Because
Okay,
it's-
well, let me present how that choice is gonna sound.
Okay.
So they're gonna say, look, you don't have any real money, so we can't get the top doctors to work on you, but we do have this doctor here. Now, he's a sexual predator, but the likelihood of him wanting to grab your boob at 80 years old is not very high. But you need to be seen right now. What do you want to do?
when I was in the hospital, I was hurting so bad.
Okay, you are 21 and pretty.
I was like, please
Whole
take
different
me.
ball game.
No,
Whole different ball game.
I still feel like it should be their choice, though. That's just right. Like, you can't get no doctor who doesn't have that license and who's a sexual.
No. That's
No,
not
his
what we're
license
saying.
is gone.
His license is revoked. That's by man. He still went to school to get the school.
Right,
to
it
be able to
doesn't.
do
It doesn't matter. He can't be in there by himself. He's a sexual predator. Like, it's still all these different guidelines and rules you have to follow. Like,
Just
no.
find a room. I
You know what?
think,
We're gonna get the doctor to work on Ricardo, and we're
Yeah,
gonna
we're gonna get that. I'm gonna call this
when
guy
something's happening,
That's-
God
if I can get a
forbid,
happy ending,
we're just
I'm
gonna
just
get a
saying.
doctor.
You
to
know
come
what?
after
In any
you.
event, all right. So we're going. That's your thought for the week. So do you feel like people who have lost their license for whatever reason should still be able to operate or still deal with patients in a Medicare situation? And when you say Medicare, it's really people who can't afford a higher level of health insurance. So that's the question
Miss
of the week.
Tammy, I want to know. What do you think?
She was sitting in the corner, so I'll get ready to cut this so we can go to her because she's amazing and she needs this full
I
hour.
want to say, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a thought, you're welcome to share. But that it's a wait what moment because you're just like you never know these kind of things are going on.
Tax
I
dollars.
don't have a lot of mercy for sexual predators of any kind because it's a total violation
Yes.
of a human being and just destroys lives. So my take is like,
And let me put this disclaimer: I'm not siding with him on in any manner. I just my role is devil
advocate.
advocate.
Convicted, if he was, the law said that he did that and that was proven and he didn't do that, it's like, no way. And if for some reason he is out there, the people that come to him should be made aware.
And he's
This is-
receiving tax dollars. I mean, these are things that come through, taxes and government plans.
I get it again, but
It's-
as somebody who lived with my grandmother, Medicaid was a lifesaver, but there were not a lot of options for her when we took her to the doctor because most of the good doctors did not accept Medicaid because they didn't want to deal with that class of people.
Yeah, and that's a horrible thing.
It is.
It's a really, really horrible thing, but they are women, and it's just, if someone's a predator, it's like, nah.
Like I said,
I don't care if
I'm not
they're
advocating
like
for
I
sexual
don't care if
prejudice.
they're
I
like
agree
200
with you,
years old,
Tammy.
it's
I
still
agree
like,
with you.
So I expect one of y'all to go to become a medical doctor, so we can have some more medical doctors on the road.
Had
All
to go
right,
back
so
to school.
we are done with that. So we're gonna segue now to our guest, Mrs. Tammy Williams, which again we are so belated and so honored to have with us today. I love to say it because it just rolls off the tongue. She was the first Black woman of color to own a studio, pre-production and production studio in Georgia. So that in itself, I had to have her once I read that. So again, you're going to give your synopsis and your rundown in its full glory this time. And you're in your full glory this time, and then we'll go from your full glory. Then we'll go from there.
What do you want me to start with, the production part of things?
We'll start from the history because you've been in the industry for what, 20 years?
Actually 20 years plus. I know I look very young. I started when I was 12.
I thought she was 18.
Thank you.
I thought she was 18 when she
Thank you.
walked in. I'm just saying.
I was one of those people who went from college and was blessed that when I left college, I went straight into my field. So I worked as an editor. I worked in different news stations in Nashville, New Orleans, and Chattanooga. So my background is news as an editor and as a writer producer.
What school did you go to?
I went to Middle Tennessee State University, which is you know.
I have a
too?
friend. Yes, I
Oh
have
my
a
God.
friend who just graduated from there. So I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's where I went to school and just kind of worked at those TV stations and kind of built my craft and moved to Atlanta some years ago.
So
Go
did you
ahead.
major in journalism or what did you major in?
Well, at our school we had journalism, but my major was radio TV production. Is what they called it back then under the mass comm department. You too?
Yes.
Oh, Terry just graduated like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so when I read
So
that, I was
literally.
a journalism mass comm, and I was radio and TV too. So that's I'm like, okay.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I've just been smiling the whole time because I'm eager to hear what's going on. So okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. So it's one of those. When I was in school, I did like 5 internships. Today I hate to say today. Many people, kids in school, do not want to do free internships. It's like, pay me.
Thank
Train
you.
me,
I
pay me.
just was talking about
Yeah.
this.
True.
And that's so unfortunate because I think you'll miss out on a lot of opportunities. I only got credit for 1 internship. I did 5. My advisor was like, well, how are you getting these internships? Well, I would meet people and they would favor me. And it's like, hey, we're going to let you come volunteer, and things like that. So I knew that when I was in school that there were a lot of people who wanted to do what I wanted to do. Therefore, I had to be a step ahead. I had to be a step ahead because,
Thank you.
yeah, number one, female and African American, right? Therefore, you always had to push and do a little bit more. So when I got out, I was able to get a job as an editor in news, and I worked there for a while, like I said, and then became a writer-producer at 3 TV stations. Thereafter, I got into some faith-based productions, worked with some production companies. I came to Atlanta, which I always knew I was going to come to Atlanta. I just didn't know when.
Where are you
But I
from?
wanted- Originally from Tennessee.
Okay.
Right, but I wanted to be. Well, I was on my way up to New York or L.A. I wanted to work in news and those.
I'm next.
those
That's where
markets.
I'm going next.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm so glad I came here because of what has happened in the state of Georgia in the production arena.
Yes.
It's a great place to work, a great place to live. The economy is affordable. You can live here on a lot less than you can the other cities, and the market is huge. So we don't have to leave now to do production. There are certain things, of course, like you have some shows, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and all those shows are in New York and L.A. Those things are elsewhere, but we have a big film market here, and a lot of TV series are being shot here too. So it's a great time to be in this place and to get in the market in production.
So what drove you to want to get your own production studio?
Content creation. Content is king. Creating and developing your own content, stories, ownership. I think Tyler Perry has set such a huge standard, and I hope we all understand that on the business side of things, regardless, of what you believe or think about the content, that he's created. Number one, he knows his market. He knows what his market wants. Number two, he has created this system that says, hey, you don't have to do it Hollywood style. There's a whole nother system that opened up doors not only for African Americans, but for anybody into production to say there's another way. He has created another way to create content. So every time you see a Mr. Brown on TV, every time you see any of his shows, anytime you see any of his shows to come, he owns that. And where does all that funding go? It goes to him. Even when you see like shows like, on the air that we've seen for years, Good Time, Martin, all those shows that are on, somebody owns that content. And so when it airs, somebody's getting a check somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at what he's done in that way, you're like, oh my God, he's done some excellent, he has set up this model, and he has his stage plays, his films, and his TV series, and he can greenlight stuff. He is, most of the stuff that's done here now, the films, they still are being greenlit in, LA, New York, right? Perry has the ability to green light stuff and produce stuff to say, yes, we're going to do this and do it right here in Georgia. So that's why I'm like, that's one part of it. And then we have all the other TV series and things.
So is that sort of like owning publishing and music, like what you're talking about, content ownership?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
is it
so.
similar?
I believe so. When you say that you own the publishing, that means
Yes.
you own the rights
The
and
masters.
the masters
Yes.
of your content. So yeah, like same thing.
Well,
So that's what I'm like, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You was speaking on just like, you know, how the film industry and everything like that is growing in Georgia, but I know that you had like it's Open Rivers Film Academy. So can you tell me a little bit about that? What is that?
Sure. Our academy, well, we kind of did some changing. So we're under Tammydale Films now.
Okay.
When we did our first film, we put everything underneath Tammydale Films, and our classes is under Tammydale Films also. And it goes back to actually when I was in college, I started off in education.
Okay.
And I changed my major to production my junior year. But the passion for education, once you have it, it never goes
True.
away. You always want to teach, and you always get excited about people
Yes.
learning. Is that true? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have an internship
It's
program
true.
here. That's how they got.
awesome.
That's how they got here, and I have 13 other interviews later
Oh, I love
for an
it.
internship program. So you're right, and I
love
majored
it.
in education and
Yes.
segued out of it
Yes.
and went into what I went into. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So it never goes away. So we started training and, had a couple of classes. And now I think we probably have up to about 15 classes. So when productions came here, we discovered that people were like, okay, you're not quite qualified for certain positions. So we had started some initial training for students to work on our film. So we decided to open that class up. And that's the set production assistant class. And that's the entry level into film and TV. So that's like, if you want to get in the feature film system, people start as a PA, which is like you do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, those people that get the coffee and get the donuts.
They
and
get
then
the coffee, they get the
get
donuts, yeah, but they get to learn so much more on set. And so if you want to be a director, you take the path of a set PA. If you want to work in the producing side, you take the route of the office production assistant. There's like tracks you go to. So we have those entry level classes. You can even work in finance in film and TV. We have production clerks that work in the finance department to become a production accountant. So really anything that you've done in your life, you can find a place for it in film. There's over 3,000 jobs. Whether you want to work in food and catering and serve people that way, wardrobe, makeup, hair. And when we started our hair and makeup class, I remember going out to different salons, and I was talking to the ladies in the salon, and I said, hey, we're going to have this class on, hair on film to teach you how to do. And they were like, they didn't know about it. They was like, hair? It's just like they never considered that they could take something they love to do, hair, and do it in the film industry. Because when you think about it, people they wear wigs.
Yep.
All those extras, background people. I mean, sometimes
Changing.
people do a little thing.
You
on
become
there.
a messenger. Delivering
Yeah,
stuff that they didn't know.
They didn't
existed.
know, and sometimes we can't do better because we simply
True.
don't know
Know
better.
better, right.
Therefore, we have to bring the education. That's a part of our passion, as
Yeah,
educators. It's like
exactly.
you want to make people aware that, hey, number one, production is happening here in Georgia. It could have happened anywhere else, any other state, but we have a great tax incentive here, and people are coming here. So let's be a part of this movement. Because it could have been, you don't want to be, and that was my prayer, God, I don't want to be, 10 years from now going like, wow, this happened here, and I didn't know about it, and I'm in production. I want to be on the inside helping other people come in versus on the outside trying to swim my way in, like that. So I've been blessed and had a lot of, opportunities to open up for me, and along with helping to train and get other people, in the film industry.
Tammy,
Yes.
what is the age requirement for for those programs or that program?
For that one, for our set PA class,
Yes.
we have taken as young as 11 years old.
Really?
11?
Wow.
11, and I tell you why, because a young man was working with his dad. His dad owns like a gym. He has a gym he owns, and his son. Kids love these devices.
Yes,
They can
God.
record anything.
And they're
They know-
experts.
They
Yeah,
are
they can work it
experts.
better than we can.
Yeah, so we're teaching them how to, just how to have the mindset of being in production. The thought of, I'm here to support. I'm here to make this happen. Because you can have, the PAs are kind of like the lowest on the totem pole, so to speak, but you cannot do a good film without having good PAs.
True.
I mean, that's the bottom line. The director's not going to stop and run and get pizza for everybody.
Yeah, but
you
who gonna get the donuts?
You're right.
Donuts in the coffee?
and
It's a
do
lot
all
of
this
jobs.
paperwork and stuff like that. So, and it's like, and what we find also is that in And many times in schools and colleges, they teach you how to do a film, but they don't necessarily teach you how to get started. How to build your resume for this industry, because building your resume for the entertainment industry is totally different from any other field.
Yeah.
How you network and how you get the job and things like that.
Is
So
there a certificate awarded?
we do. We give certificates of participation at the end of every class, and that's quite enough for
That
them to
is
go get
nice.
jobs. And we've had students working on. I mean, you name the film here, and we're proud to say that we've had students work on it from Godzilla to Black Panther. As I'm wearing my Black Panther.
I know,
t-shirt.
for everybody that's watching my Facebook. And actually, all right, so if you really want to see this in its official format,
Nice.
remember, you can go to IBNX Radio on YouTube now and see us live
Yes.
now. So you can see her now versus waiting for my YouTube later on.
Yes.
And she has on her Black
A
Panther
Black
shirt.
Panther t-shirt. And
Which
I-
Wakanda
and
forever.
She came in with
Yes.
nothing in her hand.
with nothing in my.
So she gonna wear a Black Panther shirt, but don't bring anybody else a Black Panther shirt.
Well, you know what? I was.
She gonna change and give you that
I'll
one.
see what we can do.
So how do you sign up for this? Like,
You can actually register online at tammydalefilms.com
Okay.
and see all of our different classes. And so we do everything from special effects makeup, teaching people how to do bruises and scars and stuff like that, to, I mentioned our office classes. We have a comic book drawing class coming up, teaching people how to draw Marvel-style comics, and we're really excited about that one. And so we have so many more. People who like to work in lighting and grip is another class that we do. And we partner with big lighting companies like MBS, which is one of the largest lighting companies across the world. And we partner with them and have the class in their warehouse. And, we make everything very practical and hands-on. So when you walk out, it's like we want you to have a good understanding of what you're trying to do. Because it does us no good if you come in, you pay your money, you come in, and you walk out and you're like, I still don't know how to do this. It's like, no, we need to keep working on this before you leave this class to make sure you got it, and then leave. So that's the passion behind our education.
I know, I tell people all the time, you can go to school because I'm finishing a doctorate. So you can go to school forever and still, without an internship or without the opportunity to actually practice what you've learned, you just have degrees. So, having those internships and what you were talking about, the money thing, I was just telling somebody the other day. Because it was like, well, I had put out the ad and everything. It was, is it paid? It's not paid. It's an opportunity, which you're going to need. You get the option because they get to actually be on the show with me.
Yes.
Then the people that are coming in, they get to work behind the scenes and make a name for
That's
yourself.
awesome. Yeah.
Opportunities you may never get. And I always think about myself. I was like, man, if I could just get in the door, man, I can show you what I can do. But there was never a door. So I was like, I want to be able to create that door so that you may not be getting paid, but you could get paid because I'm giving you the option to enhance your resume and to make a name for yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's the payoff right there.
exactly, but they don't see it that way.
That's the payoff. And I love this term right here. I always tell the students, volunteering is a free lesson. It's like you get a lesson and that you
That's
don't have
true.
to pay for.
That's true.
But in the
Exactly.
end, you get paid because you're getting this wealth of knowledge that that no one can ever take from you. Once it gets here and here in your heart and in your head, nobody can take that from you.
Exactly, absolutely.
Wow.
Now you have some affiliation with Marvel. So what's your affiliation with Marvel?
Well, kind of very indirectly. Our office is at Pinewood Atlanta Studios. It's one of their studios is located out in Fayetteville, Georgia, and our office is located in Pinewood Atlanta Studios Production Center. There's a lot.
I know, I was about to say,
It's
good
a
Lord,
lot.
I didn't even realize
So
that.
we're just kind of like right across the street, and we have done some work for a couple of their films in which they've called us over to do some kind of like behind the scenes type of things for them.
That's okay.
So
So
that's right.
so basically, what you're saying is you could be sitting in your office any day and you see Captain America fly across the window because it was a fight scene, and the fight scene was right in front of your window. So that's pretty much what you were saying. That can happen.
Well, I guess it
That can happen.
I guess it could, but one
That
day
can happen.
I did see Mr. Robert Downey Jr. His helicopter. I did see him walk by.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was pretty cool. I have to admit, I try not to be
Starstruck.
Yeah.
Fan-
But I was in my
fangirl.
car. I was happened to be in my car, so I couldn't run up and go like, "Hey, how you doing?" I wouldn't do that, or maybe I would. I don't know.
But you can walk around the set and not get snatched off. So that's enough for
Well,
me.
the set is across the street, so that's across the street in the studios. Now, if they shoot on the side where we are, and there are times in which they have shot where the area where we are, and
That's still amazing to me.
That's still amazing.
That's enough for me.
That's-
That's enough for me. All right. So we have 5 minutes left before we go to break. So let's go ahead and go to your movie.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and go to the movie.
Ernie, because I read it.
So
and
take
I-
it away, Terry, because
I
that
really-
was assigned to her. So
I really, really want to say. Okay, so this is what I got from it so
Okay,
far. You
okay.
tell me if I'm right. Okay, so Ernie is like Cupid's like a love brother. I guess his brother. I
Yes,
guess.
yes.
And Ernie's. Yeah, Serby. Is that saying? I'm sounding right?
You
So, okay.
definitely Serby.
Serby is Ernie's best friend, which is a dog.
Yes.
And I guess they were on like this kind of journey where they were always like making love connections, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say a detective was looking into it and came back, and I'm trying to get it all together. Okay, so a detective came and was like investigating, seeing that they didn't have no home or anything like that. So he came and put him in an orphanage, and then they was like, I guess Ernie and Serby was matching families up together or something. And is that right?
You know what? You are right, and I love the way you've brought a different
trying to-
conclusion to
Yeah,
the
she's
story.
trying to-
she rewrote it, which I love it. I mean, yeah.
she's trying to give it a bridge version.
And she's reading this. She's thinking from like the promo, which is not, you know
how
don't
you
have
read
a whole story.
something?
Yeah.
What is
I
it?
love
What is it?
I love it. You know what? You are like 99% on point.
Okay.
On point. It is a story about Ernie and Serby,
Okay.
which is like Cupid's brother, and his love connections weren't working anymore, and he didn't know what was going on. Have you ever felt like when you like lose your purpose and lose your way, and you're kind of like, I don't know what's up with
Yes.
this. My life has just taken this huge change, and I don't know what's going on. So that's happened to him. Now he comes down to earth, and when he comes down to earth, he finds himself in a group home. And that's where the adventure starts. So, well, actually, it continues there because we don't want to give too much of the story, but I will. Spoiler alert. Before he gets,
Fine.
It's
Fine.
an
'Cause
exclusive.
I feel like it's unavoidable.
It's an
So
exclusive.
fine. I don't like spoilers, but fine.
I get so excited about this. Well, when he's not here on Earth, he's actually an adult. And the dog that you see is actually a total grown dog. So when they come down to Earth, they change. They
Oh,
change
okay.
physically.
That's cute.
Yeah.
It sounds real Sesame Street-ish to me.
When I read it, I was like, I want to see this movie now. Like,
Yeah, she
I
did. When
want
she
to
read
see
it, she was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's so many layers to it. It's so many layers to it, even in their transformation. And the thing that when Ernie gets here, he doesn't remember who he is.
Oh.
He doesn't
Who
remember. He
came
doesn't
up
remember
with this?
My husband actually came up with the concept of the Chronicles of Ernie and Serby. That's actually his whole idea and story and everything like that. And he got together with a partner and they wrote it. And I became he allowed me to direct it. When you talk to him, he allowed me to direct the film. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun working with
Sounds
children and dogs, which they say don't do that on your first film or just never do them both together. But it was so much fun.
All right, so where can we see it? Like, where can we see it?
Chronicles of Ernie and Serby, you can actually order. You can order the DVD if you want the hard copy. That's available. But right now it's on Vimeo live stream, so you can actually watch it online. If you go to ErnieandSerby.com, it'll show you your different ways that you can watch it. And then we have some other platforms we'll be unveiling coming up here pretty soon too. Amazon Prime and some other things that's going to happen with it. So
Well,
we're
I
excited
gotta
about
make
it.
sure I check that out because I'm dying to see it. I'm really dying to see it.
And it's what we call a backdoor pilot. So you shoot it for all those filmmakers out there. A backdoor pilot, you shoot it as a film, but you pitch it as a series. So you've seen some of your shows.
Oh,
It's
so
like
that's
a
how I did
1 hour
Mary
show.
Jane.
Exactly.
That's how I did Mary Jane. It was a movie first, and then they came out with a series after it.
Exactly. You pitch it as a series.
So what? You shoot it, and then you produce it, and then you kind of pitch it around like, okay, well, it was a movie, but we really think it should be a series.
Yeah. There's some things that we do that we've already written 11 episodes of the Chronicles of Ernie and Serby. It's already done.
So is it shown as a series?
It's right now shown as a movie.
Oh, okay,
A
okay.
movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's shown as a movie.
So
With
when
some
you make the
continuation.
movie, do you just make enough to get people interested enough to want to watch a series, or you actually tell like the whole story and then
Well,
the
we
series?
kind of do a combination. We make it exciting enough that there's. See, now we're getting into.
No, because you don't have to give any more details. We're talking about the production aspect.
Right,
So you don't have to give any more
yes,
details.
Yes. It's like a series. It's stuff in there that will make it a continuation. Okay, I'll say that to make it a continuation.
Okay,
But
well then.
it's a family-friendly thing, and we do hit some hard issues though.
So I guess my question is, okay, so what? Because you can go two different roads. If you do it that way, then you can set the stage for a sequel. But how do you set the stage for a series? Like, what's the difference?
well, sequel series, same thing. It's just a matter of how you do it. Like in the series, we may do like several, 45, 50 minutes, which a film sequel, usually you kind of think of, you have a part 2 and that's the final conclusion kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, but it's all in how we produce it after that, so to speak.
Okay, so I have a question, but I guess it's coming from more of a journalism side, I guess.
Sure.
You did say that your company, or I guess it's pre-production, post-production, and post-production?
Yeah, we do all phases of production.
Okay.
But
And you were saying like different stuff, like as far as like editing and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So when you're actually taking the classes, you guys are like teaching them stuff like that, like Adobe, like different software and stuff? Is that what you're
when we have our workshops, we do.
Okay.
We do. In fact, with our set PA class, when we were shooting our film, we had to go back and shoot another scene for our film, and it fell on the same Saturday that we had to do our set PA class. So we literally actually had our class on set. So the students got a chance to actually come on the film set, and then they actually were assisting in different areas as PAs. So they walked away with a film credit,
Nice.
that day.
Okay.
So it all depends on what's going on, but on every one of our set PA classes, we do a production. It may not be on a film set, but we do a production. So when they come in, they walk away with a credit. Because we get people who are career transitioners, who are in a totally different field, who want to work in this industry. And we have people who have just a little bit of production experience, and just may not have a lot of credit. So we want them to walk away because it's all about experience. In fact, it's more about experience than it is your education. People want to know what you've done. And so that's the way this business works, And in all actuality, I'm very pro-education, as we talked. I'm very pro-education. But to work in the film industry, you don't necessarily have to have a degree in the film industry. You don't. But again, I'm pro-education, so I'm like, get it, because it'll offer you different options. If you want to work at a TV station or something like that, they will ask, okay, we want somebody with a degree. But on the other side, it's like, as long as you go through the sense and experience, and you work your way up and have so many hours and all that kind of stuff, you can be successful in this industry.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah, I just
No,
had
I mean,
to know, like,
by all means. I mean,
what, I
because your
want to
eyes
know.
are. This is the most inspired I've seen her.
Yeah, I'm
since
just-
she
I
got
think
here.
she's going to come to one of the classes. She looks like she's
I might
about
make
to
her.
register
I know.
today.
That's why I was like, how do you sign
I know,
up?
right? I've
I'm
never
just
seen
really
this.
shocked. Like, how you was saying, like, starstruck, I'm just sitting here just amazed. Like, oh my God.
Oh,
Like,
gosh.
so I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Okay.
Well, you get dibs because when we come back from break, that's when I'm going in. So you get your dibs on thing. But you know what? I'm not gonna ask any more questions. Let's put this on pause. We're gonna go ahead and take our next break, and when we come back, we'll have more Tammy Williams and Mrs. Terry Michelle's House of Secrets. So stick around. The Leadership Blend with your host Ricardo D. Rice.
Can't believe that I'm home all alone. Doesn't stop me from wanting to see you. Why the hell won't you pick up the phone? Hello? Don't know which way is up anymore. No excuses and nothing to cling to. Oh, you're shaking me right to the core. Just wanna let you know I won't let this one go. You got me down, but I ain't out. Think you got me good, left me like some dead wood. I may be down, but I'll turn it round. All my friends said I told you so. They ain't making me feel any better, but it's up in his own with the show. Got me aching inside of my skin. No excuses and nothing to cling to. You gon' pay for the state that I'm in. Just wanna let you know I won't let this one go. You got me down, may be down, but I'll turn it round. Just wanna let you know I won't let this one go down. But I think you got me good, left me like some devil. Hey, I may be down, but I'll turn it round. Don't you go, don't you go, yeah,
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, where we're simplifying your leadership.
Never knew my life could be this way. I never knew the sun could shine all day. Never thought I'd live beyond my past until I found Jesus. I never thought I'd be in this place. Oh, I'm glad, so glad I'm living my life in this place. Ooh, I never knew my heart would feel again. You see, I was so hurt, never knew the pain. Let me stand. Never thought the tears would go away. Lord. Yeah. Until I found you, Jesus. I never thought I'd be right here in this place. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, I am. I'm living my life. Oh, Lord. There's a place in God where we can all be free. A place where God can get the best out of me. There's a secret place in God where He covers me. Oh, I am so glad. Yes, I am. I'm living my life. Yes, I'm so glad. I'm living my life. Been a lot of places, seen a lot of faith, but I've never been in this place. Time and time I never thought I'd win. Oh, Lord, been a lot of places, seen a lot of people. Oh, Lord, been in this place time and time again. Never thought I'd win. I've been around the world, seen a lot of people, but I never thought I'd be here. I am amazed that I'm in this place.
All right, so we are back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host Ricardo D. Rice and Miss Terry Michelle and Mr. Chris Wyatt and our very special first guest, Mrs. Tammy Williams. We're so happy that she is here. So when we left, we were talking about her experience and we were talking about where the studio is and all that great stuff. So now that we're back, it's time for the real questions.
Oh.
All right, so my question is, because you see pre-production, production, and you've been in the industry 20 plus years, which again, you only look 18, you know, we saw a shift where at one time there was very few minority parts, very few minorities on television and the big screen, and then there was like this boom. And you get the Kerry Washingtons and the Viola Davises, who are not new by any stretch of the imaginations. They just got their opportunity to be at the forefront of this kind of minority movement, so to speak. So my question is, do you feel like that landscape has changed, especially now that we're starting to see the exit of some of that boom? Because, you know, Scandal's gone off the air now. There's some other shows that are getting ready to exit that have minorities at the forefront. Do you think that was I don't want to say a fad because that's not a nice word, but do you think that was kind of a moment in time that we had, or do you think it's a stretching out a matter of 15 minutes of fame, so to speak?
I think
that's just for wording purposes.
Yeah, I definitely hear where you're coming from. I think that as our country changes and we see what's happening as far as, you know, country is becoming more and more diverse.
Yeah. I
think that, you know, no, it wasn't 15 minutes of fame, but I can actually see more minorities on television. That you know, I believe that is going to expand. Okay. Because of the demand of like advertisers. See, everything sits with the advertisers. You know, you create a program around an ad, to be honest.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Oh. So it's the so when someone if somebody wants to boycott something and they say, okay, I'm going to call the show. No, deal with the advertisers that advertise in the show.
Oh.
That's where we go. I think things are just going to expand as far as minorities wise, because keep in mind, Scandal was a show, but Shonda Rhimes was a creator of that show.
This is true.
So you have to go back to the producing and the creating and people who are greenlighting stuff. Okay. Now we also have to look at, just because we see a lot of minorities on television or some things pulling off and changing, we have to look at the cast and the crew too, because you can have a lot of actors that are minorities, you know, but then you got to look behind the scenes. How many people back there are getting employed in there that are diverse? How many people in the lighting grip department? How many people in wardrobe? How many people in hair and makeup? How many people, you know, that are behind the scenes working? So it's not just in front of the camera, it's behind the camera.
So you think behind the camera is just as diverse?
I think it needs to be a little bit more. I think it's growing, you know, it needs to be a little bit more. As far as being of just a female, you know, and you know, African American female, a female as well, with the Me Too movement and things like that. I think we're going to see more women in leadership roles, you know, because of.
So what do you think is so we were talking about, I don't think you had gotten here yet, about gatekeepers, because at that time we were talking about suicide and the gatekeepers that used to be in like high schools, guidance counselors, PE teachers, people that they were encountering every day to be able to say, okay, something's wrong with this child. I see this child every day. So if we flip that, who would be the gatekeepers to make sure that there's diversity behind the cameras, union groups, things of that magnitude?
The gatekeepers.
Because I know that they have to make sure actors are kind of on the up and up and stuff like that. I know SAG is something big because my uncle's an actor. He wanted to make sure he got in SAG. So is there like a union that makes sure that polices to make sure the diversity is going around, or does one need to be created? Because I think I just gave you a new job. If not, I think I just gave you a new job. If not, I just want to point that out.
Other 1,000.
You know, I'm just saying. I think I just gave you a new job. If not,
I just think that you know, look, we get jobs sometimes by word of mouth and people we know, people we network. You know, people like that. It's a lot of behind the scenes, cast and crew. That's how we get employed. You know, so a part of that is getting out there and networking. A part of that is when we create our own content and being able to hire and employ people. But I definitely think there needs to be more added on to that. And there's a whole nother group of people that are coming up. I was just at an event that deal with a lot of content creators on the whole digital platform. And we can't sleep on the digital platform. You know, prime example, Ezra Ray, Awkward Black Girl. So where is she now? HBO Insecure.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? So it's like start creating content, and we'll see some. That there's a whole movement that's going on that these guys are creating content and building up followers, and doing amazing things.
So you would suggest YouTube, because I think that's where she started. She was doing a YouTube show, I believe, and then somebody, the right eyes saw it, and it kind of segued her to
I'm sorry to interrupt. Things are starting. Things are being greenlit from digital platform and going to television and going to film. Actors are being discovered. You can see like YouTube stars in TV shows and things like that because they have followers.
I'm seeing a lot of that now.
So there's a big transition that has taken place. It's not the same old system. Things are growing up differently, and it's okay. Yeah.
All right. So we're done with all the heavy stuff. We're done with all the heavy lifting. All right. So now we're gonna segue to Miss Terry Michelle and her House of Secrets.
Okay, so in this game today, we're going to play Spicy, Hot, or Not, and I'm going to pass the straw around. Get everybody 2, okay? Pick 2.
2?
Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't think it's fair that Tammy gets to opt out. I don't think that's fair.
Oh, no. We're not. No, she just gets to pass if she wants to.
Fine, well, you get to start because you're the guest, so you get to start. Let me put the
mix
same.
it on up.
I'm gonna put the same disclaimer.
Church.
I'm gonna put the same disclaimer on her as I used to do with Marshall. I don't know anything about this, so it is not reflective of my opinions or the opinions of the Leadership Blend.
You sound like you running for politics.
Okay. Let's pass it around.
I'm just saying.
Do you open them now?
No, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait.
Okay. I'm just.
You guys, it's a new game that I just came up with it.
It's a welcome back party today.
It's really like an icebreaker,
Terry is
so
back.
people can know a little bit about you. Some things might be spicy, some of them not. I'm gonna even pick 2 too.
I'm not afraid.
Okay, you ready?
I am.
Well, Miss Tammy, we'll let you go first since you're our guest. Please forgive me if this is on there. This just.
Is your handwriting legible? Because she's struggling. Is your handwriting legible?
You going first, Tammy?
Look, yeah, I can. This is a great one.
Okay.
It says, if you can meet anyone famous, who would it be?
You are famous, so that don't count.
It has to be someone she
Martin
likes.
Luther King is famous.
Is that your answer?
Who would it be? Who would I meet if I had to meet anybody famous? Oh gosh. Okay, I'll just think of like one person. Okay.
Everybody has one. You should be able to like.
One.
I could think of one off the top of my head.
See, I go through a whole list and go
Lord, you got
You
that over analytical thing that I do from time to time.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just say that one person that I would love to have a heart to heart regarding production and behind the scenes, and that would be Miss Own Herself, Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
You haven't met her yet?
No, I have not met her.
Huh.
I have not met her.
Okay.
Now, on that, I had a
Don't
question.
judge me from it.
I'm a little surprised. I'm
sorry.
I was a little surprised.
I don't mean to disappoint you. Fall off your pedestal that you have put me on.
Well, technically, but you have met Tyler Perry.
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, you're okay.
So, Tammy,
You're okay.
you did television in Nashville, correct?
Yes, I did.
Did you work at the same station that Oprah did?
You know what? I did.
That's why I thought there was a connection there. That's why I wanted to ask that.
You know what she did? She was a reporter at that station. Now, when I was getting a job there, I wasn't thinking about that. I wanted to work. I just wanted to work. But she was a reporter. In fact, the guy that she always talks about, Chris Clark, he was actually still anchoring there when I started working there.
It's a little station because I was just recently there and I was at the Musicians Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And it's right there. I like park right in front of the
WTVF.
TV station.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, that's the one. That's Oprah's.
Okay. Well, it's not
television
Oprah, but
CBS
it's close enough.
affiliate.
Yeah.
Oprah, it's good enough. All right.
There you go. You made that connection.
Yeah, 'cause
Absolutely.
Okay, so question number 2. I think I have some good questions that I really kind of wish you could answer
You
to.
want me to go ahead?
Well,
Would you rather
oh, that's looking like that's something bad.
go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great-grandchildren?
Oh.
Well,
You
these
know
are
what?
some good questions.
That is good.
I'm actually well. She had a free time, so
You know.
that's all she had was free time.
That's
so,
a good way to use
You
a
can't
sick
be
day.
creative in your free time. I'm
know.
concerned.
You know what? Most people on sick days, they somewhere they shouldn't be. But you know what? She was really
Thank
taking
you.
care of
She was on
business.
Instagram.
She was doing
Good job, Terry.
I would have to say, go into the future to see my great grandkids,
Oh, that's beautiful.
and then advise them, give them advice. Don't
Okay.
do this, don't do that.
Wait, do you
That's a
have
good
kids?
question. No.
Okay.
Do cats count?
In today's time, yes. Yes.
It's a new law. It's a new.
They're
the
called
company-
fur babies.
Yes.
So you
I
have a fur
I have
baby.
Yes.
2 fur babies, and they are just wild.
Okay, so Ricardo, it's on you.
Oh God. Lord. Let's see. All right, so mine says I can't answer this.
What is it?
It's
you don't
too-
get a pass.
Oh no! I just saw the other part of it.
What is it?
You idiot. What's your favorite trap song? Really?
Ricardo, yep, you have to answer it.
My favorite trap song is
This is spicy for Ricardo, okay? For all my listeners out there, this is considered spicy.
yeah, because I'm an R&B
Spicy
gospel
hot.
boy, so to say trap, but I it's gonna be a
Sriracha
Migos song because
sauce.
I fall in love with Migos. I can admit that. Probably Drip. I actually like Drip with Cardi B and Migos.
Drip.
Yeah,
Ah!
between that and Bad and Bougie. Bad and Bougie comes on at work and I'm just like, and it's not even my thing. So I have to say Drip. Drip was, when I heard Drip, I was like, okay, these boys can actually rap and you throw Cardi in it, okay. So I go with Drip. Drip is my favorite song. My
Okay,
favorite
so
trap
what
song.
is your number two? What is your number two?
God, I gotta have two?
Okay, let's go. Chris,
I
No,
only
actually-
picked one.
actually,
I'm supposed to pick 2.
did you only get one?
I just grabbed one.
Okay, that's
Oh, you talking
fine.
my second question?
Am I going?
Yeah, you need to go
Yeah,
because
go
it's
ahead.
like 152. So
Yeah.
y'all need to do one each.
Pick one truth or dare.
Oh God. Glad I didn't get that one. So what you
Uh,
gonna do? You doing truth or you doing dare?
Truth.
Okay.
I'm in here. I'm under your control. I'm in trouble.
Well, let's just do something simple.
It's gonna have to be something surface because not like
Okay,
she know a
yeah.
lot. So it's gonna be something surface.
So, is it true that you're 41?
Mm-mm.
It-
Truth.
He
No,
said true.
it's not true.
Okay.
Where did you get 41 from?
Everybody
It's-
around here been eternally 18 and 20 something. So, hey, throw me in that boat.
No, because you can't be 41 because I'm 38. So and we're not that close in age.
Well,
so you
she-
can't be 41.
She said, "Is it the truth?"
I just said, is
I
it
said it's
true? I
it's
just threw a
not
number
true.
out
So
there.
what's the truth?
100. Me and Moses went to school together. Okay.
If you and Moses
Thank
went to school
you.
together, you older than 100 at this point.
Okay. 101.
Oh, let's guess his age because I think I didn't remember.
Oh man, no, that is
No,
not
see,
cool,
I'm not
Ricardo.
gonna touch.
Yeah,
age
that is
stuff.
not
Yeah.
cool.
He's not a female. He doesn't care.
He does care. He didn't want to even
Look,
tell us
we've been
his
talking
age.
about
care.
feelings all morning. Now you gonna say there's no care in the world?
Look, for his age, everybody be like, seriously? 'Cause when I tell him your age, you're just like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, he's that old. Fine, I won't touch it then. Fine. I don't have no problem saying I'm 38. But I
Well,
mean,
I'm
he don't want to.
23.
Yeah, we know.
But
We
okay,
know.
so here's my question: what are some things that sounds like compliments but are actually insults? Does anybody have one?
Compliment.
This
that
sounds-
sounds-
Well, I can give you one. Somebody just recently told me today. Well, not today. It was like a few days ago. He was like, "Oh, you actually look like what you look like on Instagram," and that really, really bothered me. Like that was not a compliment.
Yeah, but in the catfish age, that's a compliment.
That is a
In
compliment.
the
No.
age of the catfish, that's a compliment.
No, but I had like no makeup on. I just had like my eyelashes. It was like, "Oh, you really do kind of look like."
I don't think that
What?
I'm sorry, that's a compliment. I can tell you what's not a compliment when
What?
somebody says, probably to us, you're cute for a brown girl or you're cute for a dark guy. Well, I'm not actually dark, but you're cute for a
Yeah.
brown looking
Oh,
guy.
so it's saying-
That's a
Or
backhanded
you're dark,
compliment.
if you're real dark complexion, and it's
Then you're
like,
cute
oh,
for-
you know what? You're really cute to be so
Dark.
It's
Yes,
like-
those are like
and,
backhanded
it's, and
compliments.
it's situational too. Like if you give a speech, but the only compliment you get is, "Oh, your hair looks great." that means your speech wasn't
Oh.
good.
Yes.
So
And I
it's
usually
just
say
like-
so. I'm like, so that's what you got from that?
Oh, and this is another one
That's what you
too.
got from that?
Matter of fact, when I used to be hosting, like, cause I was the host for Savannah State basketball, and people used to always just think like, "Oh, Terry, they only let you do it because you're pretty." That is not a compliment. Like,
Yeah, but you get that all the time, I'm sure. 'cause
but that's
I've
not a
said it to
compliment. You have to work with male, female, kids, everything when you're hosting. You know what I'm saying? Like you're actually interacting with people. It's,
It's
not
like-
just because you're cute.
You want to know about your talent, your intellect, your
Yes.
ability to
Right.
handle conversations and things like that. Not that, Oh, you're cute. Got you.
Yeah, so
you don't think
no.
I have a brain?
So-
you don't think I can think for myself?
That is an
Look,
insult.
I have learned, especially because I'm from South Carolina and moving to Georgia, I have learned, and I'm brutally honest about this when I talk to people. Sometimes, and I've recognized this because it's been said, the only reasons people have listened to some of the things that come out of my mouth is because they find me off the rip attractive. That's just the reality. That, and especially here in Atlanta, looks carry you a long way. And I tell people all the time, you need to look nice wherever you go. I mean, it's a general rule, but Atlanta, there's a lot of flash in the pan because there's, all this stuff that goes on here. The more attractive you are, the more likely you are to get certain types of doors. That's just the reality. I actually did a study on it, that people like pretty people.
But it's still an insult.
We don't oppose. She doesn't oppose
Yeah.
being pretty and that kind of thing, but it's like she has a mind too.
Well, then you have to make them
Right.
see that mind.
Dig a little deeper. It's there. I just.
But you know what? You know what the perfect response is? Oh, bless your heart.
I'm
Perfect
definitely going to say
response.
that.
Oh my God, that's like
Definitely
for
gonna
puppies.
use that
Are we
one.
really doing this? It's like for puppies.
I mean, we kind of have time for one more.
I was about to say we do have time for another.
So
All right,
you-
fine. So I'll open my second one because Tammy did both of hers. You did both of yours, didn't you?
I did both
Yeah,
of
you did
mine.
both of yours. All right, so. Oh, I'm not answering that. No, ma'am.
What is
No,
that?
ma'am. No,
It sounds
ma'am.
like
I will
that's
pick again. I'm not answering that. No.
Hey, there's no
I'm
pick
not
against.
Why is he getting all those other questions? I
No.
don't know what's going on.
Let's see what that one
It
is.
is- it
No,
is
read
funny.
that one. I'm not answering that.
It's a spicy question, Miss Tammy.
I'm not answering that.
It's really
I will
spicy.
pick again. I'm not
That's too
answering that.
spicy. He need a lot of
too
water
spicy.
afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not answering that.
Come on now.
Oh my God.
Exactly. You know better than to put that in there. I'm not answering
I
that.
didn't even know how that got in there.
I'm
saw
not
it.
answering that.
I
That,
just
that
saw
was the
some
sickness.
things.
That was the sickness.
I just saw
I'm
some
not
things
answering
on
that.
there.
All right,
I don't think he
so
wants to get-
okay. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would it be and why? Right now, it probably would be to Paris. I really want to go to Paris. I want to take a picture in front of the Eiffel Tower. I want to hang out. I want to have the whole cuisine thing. So I would say Italy because I've always wanted to go to Italy. So that's what I would say.
Nice.
I would go with that.
I've been dying to go to Paris too. When I went to London, we was trying to go over there, but nobody wanted to go. So
Okay, now I'm gonna get really old because these three probably would know. I don't think you would. There was a TV show years ago called Jim and the Holograms, and it was I have sisters, so I had to watch it with them, and I kind of fell in love with it. And there was an episode where they went to Paris, and she made this song called "Twilight in Paris." It was so cute, and I was like, man, I want to get married out there and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where
You're
can-
gonna be there.
You can
You're gonna
YouTube
get
it.
there.
It's called "Twilight in Paris." It's kind of hot.
That's nice.
All right, Chris, don't you have a second one?
I didn't get it.
he didn't want to grab the second one. Here you go. Honey.
I asked you about it.
We
how
could
much
have
time
gave
is
you the
left?
spicy one.
Oh, I don't think he would want it.
I would not.
Listen.
Well, he's married. So did you see the question?
Which one?
The one that I passed
No,
on.
I
It's
didn't.
okay. We're not gonna.
Who has it?
This is it, but I don't even think he wants to.
Okay, this says that's yours.
That's the one I passed on. You see
Mine
why.
says describe your dream date.
He's married. That don't
It
count.
doesn't matter. I can still.
All right, you go home and be divorced.
I can
Go ahead.
vicariously talk about it, right? I mean, I had to have a dream
Well,
date to
make it
meet who I'm
fast.
with. So, dream date, I would say somebody who's totally enjoying being out and
That's your answer.
get off their cell phone and be out with me. That's a
That
big
sounds
pet
like a
peeve.
shot to his wife.
What
He
it-
needs
no,
to go
it's-
home.
no. It's
They
a-
need to spend some quality
I was about to say
time.
that's between you and her. So
they say that people aren't really where they're at and being in the moment. And some people,
like
you know,
that.
they take calls at the
Oh,
dinner
good God.
table. They take.
all right, we're out of time. All right, so before we leave,
That's my date.
your final thoughts. If any nugget you could leave for aspiring producers, actors, people that want to be in media.
I would say just kind of go for it. You know, put all your heart into it. If there's something you really want to do, if you want to get in this field, don't wait. Don't ask for permission. Just kind of make it happen. You know, follow your passion. Be practical too. You know, you may have to get a safety job while you're following your dream. That's quite all right. Eventually, your dream will overpower the safety job, and you'll be able to walk and live in your dreams. And hit me up on Instagram.
I'll get ready to say, tell them how to get in touch with you.
Tammy Dale Films. I am on Instagram, so hit me up there. Of course, you know, Facebook. For those who are on Facebook, I'm there too. Tammy A. Williams. And
Yeah, I sent you a
Tammy
friend
Dale
request. I'm
Films.
still waiting for my acceptance. Yeah, exactly. All right, you two final thoughts so we can wrap up.
Final thoughts. Guys, don't forget, I mentioned this earlier. For all my ladies, if you're dealing with any type of menstrual cramps or anything that's going on, please make sure you ask your doctors about endometriosis. Check that out.
Yes. Good.
And we had spoke about depression. Just make sure you're looking out for people around you. Do whatever it takes to have an intervention. I mean, even like I said earlier, even if it's a false alarm, or you just being overly sensitive, it's best to be overly sensitive and miss than to just miss out. So just be very sensitive to what's going on around you with your family and friends. And if you having something going on, don't just isolate yourself. Reach out. Somebody will help you. Yeah. Somebody will help you.
All right, and always check out my website at ricecommunity.com, Rice with a W, to see what all is going on. I have my first speaking engagement at the end of the month on the Lit Bounce Tour with Loop Magazine. Next month, I'm going to San Antonio, Texas for my first book signing with the NAACP Author Pavilion.
Right.
Check out the website. You can see episodes. You can hear us on SoundCloud as well, so you can hear us, see us, all that good stuff. For those that missed it, this episode will be on my YouTube channel, The Leadership Blend. And we just want you guys to have a great week and think about the topics we talked about, because these are really serious topics: suicide, depression, I can't pronounce that thing. Endometriosis. And hey, you never know. You might see me in a sitcom, because I'm a walking sitcom. So me and Tammy will have a discussion after we leave. And you guys will see you next week, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Tune in.